Hey, how are you? Jody here, co-founder of The 7 Effect and the creator of the High Value Human Matrix. Now, I'm making this video because I've got coming up a masterclass where I'm inviting you to join me and really unpack what it takes to position you as a high value human. Now, you might be wondering what I mean by this term high value human. Well, essentially, a high value human is someone who knows how to be an asset in any given situation, because not only do they understand how to define their value, but they can consistently deliver their value, and the value that they deliver matters, is meaningful, can last, and can be leveraged over time in a positive way. So I'm going to talk a lot more about how you can actually get yourself to that position in the 90-minute masterclass. But for now, what I thought I'd do is just give you a quick insight into the high value human matrix at the high level. And then when you join me for the masterclass, we'll dig into the levels underneath it and really unpack the mechanics of the human mind and why we do the things that we do. And I honestly believe that right now more than ever, the world is calling for high value humans. And if you're in a position where you're even remotely concerned about your future of employment or your financial security, then now, my friend, is the time to really master the art of becoming a high value human. So let me switch up my screen and I'm going to just draw out a few things with you. Isn't that cool how you can do this? So the first thing that I want to just outline is that essentially we are living in times where there are three major forces impacting our everyday life. And those forces are, number one, you've probably guessed it, this whole COVID-19 coronavirus. It's a pandemic, global pandemic. And as a result of this global pandemic, what we're seeing is not just businesses, but entire industries are being forced to literally close down. Now, as a result of that, millions of jobs are being lost. And the saddest part is many of the businesses that have shut their doors may never be able to open again. As a result of that, we as a community are living in completely uncertain times. And this whole idea of living in uncertainty for some can be quite exciting or adventurous. I'm a little bit in that camp, but for others it can be absolutely terrifying, particularly if your financial security depends on these industries opening up again. But right now can either be your best of times or your worst of times, depending on how you choose to respond. And if you really want to get ahead of the game and make sure that you can land on your feet no matter what, then I really encourage you to join me and understand what it takes to become a high value human. Because when you're a high value human, you'll have the ability to land your dream job. You'll be able to lead teams to success, and you'll be able to even create your own job and start a business with ease. And you'll be able to do it all because you know your exact formula for delivering value consistently over time. So it's pretty exciting stuff. Let's do a quick overview of the matrix. Now, there's several layers to this. The first thing I want you to understand is this is not like a personality profiling tool that looks at who you are. So we're not actually exploring who you are, and it doesn't say, all right, you're this person, you're stuck there for good. Instead, we're looking at how you are operating. So the 4 quadrants that I'm about to explain to you are probably areas that you're pretty familiar with. You've done your time, if you're like me, in all 4. The key is we want to actually become consciously aware of what happens in each of those quadrants so that we can make choices to spend more of our time in the high value space. The other thing that you need to understand is this is a matrix that actually measures 2 key things. Number 1 is energy, N-E-R-G, my spelling's not the best, and number 2 is effort. So energy that we generate and effort required to generate that energy. So let's draw it out, shall we? Now, please be warned, I'm not the neatest of artists, but I'm just going to have a bit of fun and draw the matrix for you. So let's look at the energy continuum first. It's the the vertical line that goes straight down the middle of the matrix. And this is really looking at energy. And so as humans, we have the capacity to either contribute or consume energy. And we all know what it's like. Sometimes you can sit in a meeting with someone or catch up with someone and you'll come away from that and go, wow, I feel energized and inspired, like I'm ready to take action. Well, that's because you've just been with a human who's operating from up here. There are other times when we can have meetings with people or spend time with people and we come away and we go, oh my God, get me away from them. I'm absolutely exhausted. I can't listen to this any longer. Well, that's because you've been spending time with a human who's operating from the consumption space in terms of energy. And so we as humans have the ability to do both. And if you're anything like me, you've done your time up and down the line. Now let's look at effort. So as humans, we have the capacity to work hard and we also have the capacity to work smart. And if you're really smart, you will know that there's a formula for working smart, which is called the 80-20 principle. And so Richard Koch, a guy who really popularized the 80-20 principle with his book, The 80-20 Principle, go figure, and Living the 80-20 Way, talks about how we can live a life by working smart and focusing on low effort, high reward strategies. So that's essentially what I mean by working smart. So let's look at now the 4 different styles that we can be operating from. And we'll get a different color pen. What shall I go with? Let's do some blue. So when we are working hard, but really contributing great energy, lighting people up, giving a lot of ourselves, but in a hard working way, this is the space that I call the grinder. And when we're in a grinder space, we tend to be running on a story that the world is what I make it. And the key thing there is the grinder. So one thing that we're really great at when we're in the grinding space is taking responsibility for getting things done and following through and pushing for results. However, the grinder space is not sustainable because if we spend too long in there or we spend too much time in there, we can experience burnout or relationship breakdown. What tends to happen in the grinder space is we get our control freaks. Yep, done my time in one of those. And our workaholics playing in that space. And so that's just not sustainable. The value we can add might be meaningful and it might really matter, but it can't last because we'll potentially burn out. And it's not easy to leverage because it's all dependent on this I space here. All right, let's look at now the hardworking consumers. So when we're in a space where we're working hard but we're consuming rather than contributing energy, I call this the groaner. And we all know it, we've all been there. The groaner's operating on a story that the world is hard. And when the world is hard, we tend to get ourselves in a space where we think, no matter what I do, I can't change things, I'm stuck, it's all too difficult. And often when we spend too long in the groaner space, we render ourselves powerless. Why? Because we're telling ourselves, no matter what we say, it doesn't matter anyway. So we have a very perceived low value of our opinion and our contribution. And so that means we don't contribute a lot, but our groaning consumes energy from others. And we can sometimes suffer from the disease to please. So the value that we're adding, again, isn't sustainable because we're doing things in a way that aren't real aligned with what we would love to be doing if we felt like we had choices. And so again, this gets an amber light. Now, here's the thing that I do love about the groaner and the grinder space. When people are operating from there, they're very forthright in saying, yep, that's totally me. Yep, that's totally me. And so that makes it easy to make the shift by just creating awareness around what's required. But there's this space down here when we're operating in what I call the manipulator. And the manipulator is consuming more than they're contributing, but they're doing it in a working, smart kind of way. So manipulators have really mastered the art of working the system and taking all that they can from any given environment. And so what the manipulator's story often is the world owes me. They'll convince themselves that someone or the world owes them something. And what we tend to find is people in this manipulator space will become perpetual victims. Sorry, you can't see behind my head there. I can actually make myself smaller though. How cool is that? I'll just move myself up, make myself smaller so you can see the writing. They'll become perpetual victims or vampires. And it sounds harsh to say, but the truth is we do have these folks lurking in our society. They're probably not the kind of people that would be here watching something like this, but I give them a red light because the honest truth is, who wants to admit that they're a manipulator? And when people are operating from that space, they're often very reluctant to change because of the beliefs that are deep inside of their psyche. And that leaves us with the final quadrant. And so up here, this is all about what I call the magnifier. And so the magnifier is the wonderful person that's able to take a concept and turn it into a creation, an idea into an innovation. And they take small things and they make them bigger in a way that is better, not more effortful. They contribute positive energy through the practice of working smarter. And the magnifier's story that's running is the world is our oyster. Oyster, that's how you spell it. And so like the grinders, they are contributors, but you'll note the difference here between our and I is a really significant change. The grinders will get there the hard way, the magnifiers will get there the easier way. And so these guys, or this is the space, sorry, I'm starting to lose my voice, where we really want to start to operate from. However, I know that you can play in that space, but there's an even higher level that we can go, which is right up here in this quadrant. And this is the home of the high value human. This is the space where we really have mastered the art of contributing energy in a high value results based way through the practice of working smarter, not harder. So I'm really excited to share this content with you. The masterclass is going to be immense as we dive into that, and I'm going to give you the tools you need to unlock your human potential and really identify and define what is your value. I'm also going to give you a really powerful strategy that will help you lead change in a positive and constructive way. And we're going to go through building one of the most valuable assets that you can have, which is your own personalized success system. So if this sounds like something that you're up for, make sure you grab your spot in the masterclass. It's 100% free. It's going to be jam-packed with value, and it's going to give you a lot of really powerful ideas that are going to help you land yourself up in this space as a high-value human. As I said before, it's a live event. I hope to see you there. If you can't make the date, but you're interested in the topic anyway, go ahead and register and we'll make sure that we send you a replay. That's it from me, and I'll see you in the masterclass.